What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to be getting into my final Week 18 NFL power rankings. After this, we will have official playoff predictions. So let's dive right into this here. Starting out with the worst team in football, number 32, the Panthers. And I'm honestly just going to rip through some of these bad teams. We know Carolina, nothing changed about them this week. 31, the Los Angeles Chargers. They have been competitive ever since Brandon Staley left, but still not a good football team by any stretch of the imagination. Number 30, we do have Washington. The Commanders, same old Washington team. This defense just can't hold up with NFL caliber offenses. And then the offense, Sam Howell is not the guy. I think it's clear at this point that Sam Howell is probably going to be a backup for his career unless he turns it around at some point. But Washington there at number 30. 29, dropping down a spot. We do have New England dropping down here. They did beat the Broncos last week, but Bailey Zappi and that offense looked atrocious for the first half of football against Buffalo. Did kind of get a little bit competitive, but it was not enough to beat the Bills. Then 28, drop it down 12 spots. We have the Denver Broncos, and this was before, they were up there before at 16, before I heard about the Russell Wilson news. Now that I hear about it, this team needs to come down. I really don't like the situation, but even if they did, keep him in, they would have missed the playoffs. So it makes sense, but without Russell Wilson, I do think this Broncos team is horrible. They need a solid quarterback for this team to run. So Broncos dropping down 12 spots to number 28. 27, we do have the Jets staying put. Bad week from their defense against the Browns. Got torched in this one, especially by Jerome Ford. Surprisingly, just not enough this week for New York. They, offensively, still the same Jets. So at number 27, just waiting for the season to end at this point. And then dropping down a spot, we have the Titans. They're going to be dropping into this bad tier. If you look at Tennessee, they were competitive against Seattle a week ago, but this week, with Ryan Tannehill, Will Levis, whoever it was, that offense just couldn't get anything moving. That defense for the Titans played bad, not like how they played against the Seahawks. So disappointing loss disappointing team, I think, for the Titans this year. I was expecting a little bit of a more competitive team, and here they are in the bad tier at 26. Okay, let's get into this decent tier here. Number 25, jumping up a spot, we do have the New York Giants. The Giants this week, were very competitive against the Rams. They have held their own. They have showed that they are a decent tiered team, competing against some of these good teams. Almost spoiled the Rams season if it wasn't for a horrible 2-point conversion, missed pass by Taylor, or a few missed kicks in this game for Mason Crosby. Rams just barely survived that one. That should have been a Giants win, but the Giants do lose that game, but I'm going to count that as a win for them. They get a higher pick while staying very competitive in that one. And then number 24, jumping up 5 spots, we do have Arizona. The Cardinals, huge upset against the Eagles on the road. Give credit to Kyler Murray. Give credit to, Shane Steichen. Or, sorry, not Shane Steichen. Who is the Cardinals coach? What's his face again? Jonathan Gannon. Sorry, Shane Steichen's a different coach. But anyway, if you look at the Cardinals, getting the win this week, Kyler Murray played incredible. Give credit to Jonathan Gannon, as I was saying. Give credit to Connor. Unbelievable performance by him, and that defense, wasn't a great game, but they stepped up, played decent enough for them to pull off this upset. So Arizona, huge upset. This is not what you expected. We'll get to the Eagles in a minute, but big-time win from the Cardinals. Okay, number 23, dropping down 4 spots, we do have the Falcons. I do think I overreacted a little bit last week, moving them up from that big win against the Colts, because this week it was just the same old Falcons team, just offensively not utilizing the guys correctly that they got, and then defensively not enough. Especially two Young Koo missed kicks didn't help either. Okay, number 22, we do have the Raiders going to be dropping down a spot and back into the decent tier. It was a fun run for Las Vegas, but they just are missing the talent defensively. They're missing the talent. They have Mason Crosby, as well coached as they have been on that side of the ball. They still need to build up that defense, and then offensively, Aiden O'Connell's not it. Devontae Adams is a phenomenal player, but that's about it for the Raiders. And all that being said, you have a decent team that can play spoiler, but nothing that's too serious to being a contender in a playoff or something. So it's still a rebuild there in Las Vegas. Remember that they're going to be a better team in the future. They just got to build up this team. All right, number 21, we do have the Bears jumping up 3 spots wherever they are. There they are. Getting the win against the Falcons, looked dominant this week. Give them credit. That Bears team played really solid football. Justin Fields played a good game. Was scrambling around. Obviously hasn't been the best throwing QB in the league, but still a good quarterback. Good running quarterback. But the defense for the Bears stepped up. They get the win this week. Give credit to Eberflus. He's changed this defense around. He's saved his job these past few weeks. So Chicago, big win against the Falcons. They are eliminated from the playoffs, but as a Seahawks fans, I hope they compete against Green Bay. I know the Bears hate the Packers. There's nothing they would like more than to beat them and keep the Packers from making the playoffs. I pray that they do that because I really want to see my Hawks in the playoffs. But yeah, sad that we're relying on the Bears. But if you can hear me, a Bears fan, let's hope you guys compete. But at number 21 is going to be the Bears. 20, we do have the Vikings jumping up 5 spots, or dropping down 5 spots. Sorry, just a bad performance offensively. Jaren Hall did not play well. Obviously, he's a rookie, so you can't expect much here. And then even when Mullins came in, they did get some things, a little bit of a spark going, but it wasn't enough. They were the clear worst team on that night. Really couldn't figure anything out. And defensively, we're not the Vikings we've seen all year. So Vikings come down to 20. And then the final team of this tier, dropping down a spot, we do have the Bengals at 19. An unfortunate loss. They competed against Kansas City in that first half. The Browning story was a fun one, but it has to end. This team just is. It's just, without Joe Burrow, it's not the same Bengals team. They do have talent on both sides of the ball, but like I said, it's not the same Bengals team. And at this point, they're going to be dropping down into the decent tier. And I honestly don't think they have the coaching staff to make up for like a Joe Burrow missed, season. All right. In the hunt tier now, only 4 teams. Jumping up 5 spots, we do have the Packers. And also a team like the Vikings and the Falcons who are kind of in the mix to make the playoffs if a miracle happens. I'm not going to put those teams in because I just don't think these teams even deserve to be in the playoffs, and they're in this same tier with all these other teams. So these teams might, by a miracle, get in, but I don't think it's going to happen. But anyway, 18, the Packers jumping up 5 spots, and this team is now in the mix. They are in the playoffs. They control their own destiny, which is surprising to me. But if the Packers win this game against the Bears, they're in the playoffs. But let's talk about Jordan Love. Phenomenal performance. He hanged in there with all the pass rush schemes, the schemes that Flores was trying to do to mess him up. He played a phenomenal football game, got the job done, and led his Packers team to a win. And now they're right in the mix to make the playoffs. So give credit to Love. Give credit to that Packers defense. Played a lot better. That might just save Joe Barry's job. I don't know how Packers fans would feel about that. But yeah, still, good win from Green Bay. And then number 17, jumping up 5 spots, we have the Saints. They do beat the Buccaneers. The Saints, how they can make the playoffs right now is with a win over Atlanta, which I think they would do, or a Buccaneers loss, which would be very tough. If it doesn't come to that, you need if you want a wild card spot, you need a Seahawks loss and a Green Bay loss. So it's a lot, and a win, of course. It's a lot that needs to happen for New Orleans. It's not a lot that the tiebreakers just unfortunately didn't go New Orleans' way right now. So that's unfortunate, but at this point, they are a good enough team to be in the mix, in the hunt tier right now. Good week performance, ever since that horrible first three quarters against the Rams, they've kind of turned things around defensively, locked down the Buccaneers in this one, and made Baker Mayfield uncomfortable. Then you look at that offense for the Saints, man. Good performance from them. A good enough performance to handle business. So good win from New Orleans this week and keeping their hopes alive. Okay, number 16, we have the Colts jumping up 4 spots. You look at the Colts this week at 8-8. 9-7. They get the win against the Raiders, just barely. They needed that game to stay in this mix. Now they have an interesting path. I think they're in it right now. Yeah, they're in the 9th seed. So if they just beat Houston, they're in it. They can even win this division. So it's interesting how this AFC South is shaping up. But the Indy's right in it. And like I said, this team's just a really well-coached team. Gardner Minshew's played a good game. Jonathan Taylor's a really good player for them, really good piece. So the Colts do have a good performance. All right, number 15, jumping up 2 spots, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just absolutely running all over the Seattle Seahawks in this one. Really great running, 2-headed running monster that was from Warren and Harris. Both of those players were making Seahawks players miss left and right. And then you look at that O-line, played a lot better than I anticipated in that game versus Seattle. So give them credit. Mason Rudolph hung in there, played a good game. They deserve to come up from that. And then you look at that defense for the Steelers, TJ Watt and those pass rushers, just are game wreckers. And that's just the Steelers' identity. Another winning season for Mike Tomlin, a team that I believe is on the outside looking in of the postseason, but still could very well make it. I don't think you want to play a Mike Tomlin-led Steelers team in the playoffs if their offense can, run the football effectively like they did. That's a tough team to beat right there. All right, in the playoffs tier, number 14, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars going to be staying put. You look at the Jaguars, just a weird team to rank right now. I was debating putting a team like Pittsburgh above them, but I didn't. Missing Trevor Lawrence this week, just staying put is the right thing, I think, for the Jaguars. They handle business this week, play a decent enough game, beat the worst team in football. They're just going to stay put from that. Nothing else to say there. 13, we do have the Buccaneers, and they're only going to be dropping down a spot. I'm not going to overreact too much to that performance. It was bad. Baker Mayfield struggled. This team just a week ago dominated Lawrence and the Jaguars. Just things can happen in the NFL. You can't overreact too much. So the Buccaneers, it was a bad performance from them. But I do still believe in that football team. Number 12, we do have the Seahawks going to be dropping down a spot. And I'm just disappointed in Seattle, man. I was debating even moving this team down more, but I don't think the Buccaneers prove they deserve to be above them at this point. Not the Jaguars, Steelers, I don't think they deserve to drop down all the way down there, but if you're a Seahawks fan like I am, man, it's just incredibly disappointing that this team just can't seem to learn to tackle. Earlier this year, they were playing a lot better. They were like 5th in the league in run defense, and then the past 10 games, this team's been the worst run defense team in the league, just like the previous season. So it's just so incredibly frustrating. You look at that offense, Geno Smith's balling out. The weapons that they got are balling out. Just some unfortunate turnovers. You just can't make up from that bad a performance on defense. And at some point, you've got to put the blame on a coach like Pete Carroll, who just didn't get this team figured out with this defense, man, over the past like 5-6 years, man. It's just disappointing. Ever since Dan Quinn left, it's just not been the same team. It's just not been the same defense. So it's frustrating for Seattle for sure. I'm very frustrated in this team, man. We were a lot better than the 8-8 record says, but when you put up goose eggs like that on defense, it's just hard to win football games. All right, number 11, we have the Rams dropping down a spot. I'm going to treat this one like a loss for the Rams because if you watch the game, this Rams team was just that close to losing it. The Giants were just a few misplays away from losing it, but a win's a win for Los Angeles. They competed against a decent Giants team on the road. Stafford played good enough. They really kind of struggled to close out this game, which is kind of an iffy thing from the Rams if you think about it. The past 3 weeks, they've just, you look at the Saints game, almost let that Saints team come back. You look at who did they play earlier? I don't even remember, but it's all meshing together. But whoever they played a few weeks ago, I just remember that they almost came back and upset the Commanders. That's who it was. The Commanders almost upset the Rams, and then this week, you almost blow the game to the New York Giants. So that's the thing about the Rams. They're a red hot team at this point. They're winning football games, but they're having a little bit of a struggle closing out games. It's still a very young team, so that has something to do with it, I think. But it's still a good Rams team, and they've proven they belong in this playoffs, clinching a spot right there. You got to give credit to LA. All right. Number 10, we do have the Texans jumping up 3 spots here. Houston this week. CJ Stroud comes back. Looks like the Texans we thought that they could be dominating the frick out of the Titans, man. Just a huge performance from CJ Stroud. Even without Tank Dell, they do have some good pieces there on that offense as well that they've gotten. The O-line played a good game defensively. D'Amico Ryans has that unit playing really solid. Get the win this week for the Houston Texans. I do believe they deserve to come to above teams like Rams, Seattle, Buccaneers from their poor performances. So, give credit to the Houston Texans getting the job done. All right, number 9, we have the Kansas City Chiefs going to be staying put, clinching the division finally for that team, getting the win against the who was it against? The Bengals. Patrick Mahomes got the job done. They were trailing earlier, but this team is still a Patrick Mahomes-led football team. It's still an Andy Reid-led football team. Still a very tough team to beat, of course. Come playoff time, you do not want to play the Chiefs any year with Mahomes. I know the receivers are very bad, especially Kadarius Toney. I think he should just be cut at this point from the Chiefs team. But if you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't think this team from a Bengals win deserves to come above any of these other teams. So Kansas City at number 9, good win. They come in there. Number 8, dropping down 2 spots, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles this week. It's time. This team drops out of the contenders tier, man. Losing to the Arizona Cardinals at home as well. That you just can't have that right there, especially with the team fighting for, number 1 seed status, the division status. If they won this game, this game and the next one, they would have clinched the 2 seed in the division. So very, very frustrating if you're an Eagles fan. What is this team right now? What's their identity on offense? I honestly don't know. What's their identity on defense? I don't know. That's a problem for the Eagles. It seems like they're just the assembly of a bunch of talent that, when they have that talent and they click all together, they are a very freaking good team. But right now they're not clicking. They're not well coached at this point in time. Jalen Hurts has struggled offensively. The game plan's just weird. I just don't know about this Eagles team at this point on in the season. Can this team go on a Super Bowl run? I don't believe so right now, especially with teams like 49ers and Detroit, and Dallas. These teams are solid, hard-hitting football teams that are tough to beat. So, the Eagles, weird team, man. They are still 11-5. They did beat Kansas City. They deserve to be above them. I think it's way too much recency bias if you put a team like LA, Houston, Seattle, or teams like those above the Eagles. So I'm going to keep them in at number 8. This team feels like they deserve to drop down more than 2 spots, but they are dropping out of the contenders tier. I just don't think any of these other teams really deserve to come ahead of them. Okay, now we're into this number 17. We have the Detroit Lions. Got robbed of potentially going up into this contenders tier with a bad call at the end on that 2-point conversion. But it happens, and you got to deal with it. I thought they should have just kicked the extra point. When you're at the 7, just kick the extra point, man. But Dan Campbell, he's going to be aggressive all you want, and I kind of like it, but it can bite you in the butt sometimes, and you can shoot yourself in the foot. So, unfortunate loss from the Lions, but they competed. I do think they were the worst football team in this game, though, against Dallas on the road. It just showed up here. I think when you're going to run into a team like 49ers or Dallas in the playoffs, it's just going to be tough for this young of a football team, this team coming onto the scene to get the job done. So, an unfortunate loss for Detroit. I do think that team is still pretty good, but it could make some noise in the playoffs, but I don't think this team is poised at this point with this young of a roster to make the Super Bowl run. Okay, number 6, jumping up 2 spots, we do have the Browns. I am not going to move the Browns quite yet into the contenders tier. I know they just have thumped a few teams in the previous week. Joe Flacco's been looking really freaking good. It's interesting. I think this team, I really do like this Browns team. This defense is obviously dominant. I'm kind of talking myself into maybe moving this team in the contenders tier. Honestly, I do think I'm going to. I'm gonna move this team into the contenders tier. They deserve it. A good Jets defense, and they just dominate them. I know they haven't really been that quality team the previous weeks. They did embarrass the Jaguars. They did embarrass the Texans, but both those teams were dealing with some things at the time. But I do think this Joe Flacco has proven that he's led a football team to a Super Bowl run with a dominant defense before. We'll see if he can do it again. I'm going to give credit to the Browns that they're going to deserve to come into this tier at number 6. Number 5, we have the Miami Dolphins. Miami, man, horrible performance against who was it against? The Ravens, man. I was debating moving this team out of the contenders here, but I'm going to keep them in it. They did just beat Dallas. They are in a high explosive offense, but they were just the worst football team. Clearly, defensively, offensively, couldn't move anything against the Ravens defense. They're going to have to learn on this. They're going to have to build on this. That Dolphins team got shellacked against the Baltimore Ravens. Now they're fighting for the division odds and a playoff opportunity at home, which is going to be big. You can either play, a 4 seed in like Jacksonville or Indy or Houston on the road, or you can play at home against a team like Houston, Jacksonville, Indy, Pittsburgh at home. So it's interesting. We'll see what happens with all that. But Miami, I still believe in Mike McDaniel. I still believe in that offense. That defense still has talent. They need to figure things out, but this Dolphins team did just beat Dallas a week ago, so I'm going to stay a little bit more positive on Miami, but that was not a great performance. All right, number 4, jumping up a spot, we have the Cowboys getting the win this week. They needed this one. This team just has clearly shown that they are just a better football team at home, which, if you look at the Cowboys, if they can get that 2 seed and maybe have like a Niners, a miracle loss in the divisional round, you never know. This team could run through this place could run through Dallas in the postseason, which, in that stadium, man, with this team playing how they are in that dome, man. Dak Prescott plays good when he's in that dome. This defense just seems like to be a different defense. At home, it's a good team at home. It's tough to beat, but yeah, I mean, getting the job done against the Lions this week, they were on that close of losing that one. If they did lose that one, I would have probably dropped this team out of this tier, but not quite yet. The Cowboys are a good football team. I do see a path where they could make this run to the Super Bowl. Okay, number 3, we do have the Buffalo Bills staying put, getting the win against the Patriots, made some plays defensively. Josh Allen played a good game, and getting another win. The Buffalo Bills are right here with the Dolphins. They win that game. I heard that they would be the 2 seed. They would jump Kansas City no matter what happens with them because they beat them. That's big for Miami. If this team, or Buffalo, if this team goes into the postseason as a 2 seed, you do not want to play in Buffalo, man. That's going to be tough for any team to beat them there. They could either be that 2 seed or they could be like a 6 seed or maybe even a 7 seed. I do believe they've clinched the playoffs. I don't think they can miss it, right? I believe so. But anyway, if you look at that Buffalo Bills team on the road, it would be tough for them to make the run that they want to on the road. But if they're at home, they could do it. So this is a massive game between these two. We'll see what happens. Right now, I do think Buffalo has the edge. That team is better, in my opinion, at this point, but it's close, of course. Okay, number 2, the 49ers staying put, handling business this week against Washington. Not much else to say there for the Niners. Bounced back. Brock Purdy played well. That Niners team is still what the Niners were. Big, good response against the Commanders. Didn't lay down like the Eagles did against the Cardinals. So, good win from the Niners. You give them credit where credit's due. And then number 1, we have the Baltimore Ravens staying put there. The Ravens get the job done against the Dolphins, man. Another dominant win. This one was even more dominant. Lamar Jackson, at this point, he's got to be the MVP. He just crushed that Miami defense in that one and the Niners defense the week before. You look at that Ravens offense, it's just so hard to stop when Lamar Jackson's playing like that. No matter how mid this weapons he has are with Mark Andrews out, he is making do. And then you look at this defense, one of the best offenses in the league. The Niners the previous week, and now the Dolphins couldn't really get anything going against the Ravens. They were getting big turnovers as well, which is big playmaking capability from this defense. It's just very hard to stop the Baltimore Ravens at this point. They are playing phenomenal football, and they deserve to be number 1. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching this video today. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed the content. Comment down below your your rankings. Last one of the season. I'll see you guys with the Week 18 predictions, then the playoff predictions. Anyway, guys, peace out.